Isn't he adorable? I got my drawing done, erased all my pencil lines, so I'm left with a nice, clean, black line drawing of my dog. And even I messed up in a little spot, but you know what? Mistakes happen, and I'm going to embrace it as I work on this project. So I'm going to refer back to the drawing that you guys did in your sketchbook and start to fill in. We did that value scale for a reason, because I wanted you to really study looking at Zentangles, what gives you that light feel and what looks really dark. And using Sharpie, you're going to see that even more kind of pop into your project. So you are allowed to use things like templates and rulers so that you create nice straight lines, or if something has some kind of circle, you can use the circle template, but I think the rulers will be more friendly for you guys than the templates will be, but they're there if you want them. So as I look at Aspen's picture, one of the things I notice that I mapped out to show you guys is that there's not many really light areas on the picture that I took, but right down his nose, there's a little light spot, are the brightest areas of highlight on Aspen's face. So I'm going to choose a Zentangle, and I'm going to use a ruler for it, that really highlights that light value. So when I look at the sheet, I'm looking for something that is really bright white when I'm drawing it. And I'm going to use my Sharpie and my ruler. And you can be more specific and measure it out. The thing that's really cool about Zentangles is there's not like an exact science or perfect way to do it. I missed this little spot here, so I can go back and I can line it up with my other lines if I want. You could even come up with your own Zentangles if you want for this project. You can use the ones that I gave you, or you can go online and find some new ones. So I did some horizontal lines, and then I'm going to go back and do some lines that crisscross it perpendicular. And I try to space them out so they're about the same for the whole shape. And then the design that I was looking at has little squares at all of the crossing intersections. So I'll just kind of go back anywhere where I can add those. I'm going to go ahead and add those onto Aspen's face. So I have one pattern done. Next, why don't I choose something that's not quite black but pretty close to? So I'm going to choose this dark gray. So it's not my darkest value, but it's really close to. So I'm looking for something that's about 3/4 black, or even 2/3 black coloring versus white that you see on the picture. So if I look at the drawings or the examples that I gave you guys, or maybe I want to kind of come up with something on my own, like maybe I want to do some kind of arch design. Almost like a scalloped like scales, and there's some that are on there, and this one I'm just going to kind of make up as I go because I like Zentangle, and I think that it's really therapeutic, and I can do some cool stuff with it when I kind of play around with some designs or techniques that I've learned before. So let's see, one here, little one here. All right, so I have a little scallop design, and if you want to be consistent for areas that you have the same value, you can use the same Zentangle or something similar. But I'm going to sit here and I'm going to make this one like 2/3 black. So I'm going to create little arches within them. And I think this one might be an actual design that I've seen before now that I'm kind of filling it out. But I'll go ahead and start to color it in. Be careful with bleed through. The tag paper is pretty good, but if you're really concerned, you can use like a page on your sketchbook, or here I have my tracing paper underneath that I don't really need anymore, that you guys can either take down into your sketchbook as kind of like a reference, or just because you worked hard on it, so why not? Gotta fill this one in over here. There would have been one right here. And I'm gonna go through, and while I'm working with you guys here, I'm going to kind of fill it in so you can start to see the product. And if you go into our unit folder for the Zentangles, I put in a little GIF of a wolf being filled in with Zentangle patterns, which is really cool, that Mrs. Ayers shared with me, the other JSA art teacher. So if you guys want to check it out and see kind of like an example that's a little more finished, and it's cool because it like goes in and out and it shows the design going back and forth instead of just a boring stop motion kind of complete thing. It moves, so I really like it. But you can see I'm almost done with my pattern, and most of my little scallops are black, which gives you that idea in the picture. See how white and light this area is versus this one that has a lot of black? It gives you that idea of this darker section versus this lighter section. So I wanted to make sure that you guys saw that. And obviously my really, really dark areas, like I could have even done a little less black on this if I wanted to. And my really dark areas, I'm going to choose something that's really heavy with black and very little white overall, so that it shows up really dark value. One more, I'm almost done. Hopefully you guys are excited to do this, and I hope you take your time and really work hard to make sure that your shapes are like proportionate to each other or similar to each other. You can see that I tried hard to make sure, at least when I was eyeballing it, that my lines here were very similar, and little teeny tiny areas that are solid black on Aspen, like his pupils, his nostrils, the split in his nose. I'm going to color those in solid now because it's going to be too hard to fill it in with a pattern later. So think of that when you guys are working. If you have really small areas, we might need to leave them blank so that it makes it a little bit easier on your sanity as you guys are working along on this project. But when you're done, you should have a really nice, fully Zentangled animal with really cool patterns. So again, take your time. You're going to use a Sharpie for your design, so if you want to make sure you don't mess up, go slow. Really make sure that everything kind of matches. If you're really concerned on some of those detailed ones, you can work very, very, very lightly with pencil first and go over it. But when you do that, you spend a lot more time on the project, and the Sharpie's really going to not cover that as well if you have a lot of pencil. So we're going to work hard on trying to do it with Sharpie as often as possible. So that is the Zentangle project. If you guys need to look back at any steps, feel free. You guys can email me with any questions throughout the process. I can't promise I'll answer during the day, just depending on our meetings, but take a leap of faith. You guys have done practices for this. This isn't your first rodeo with an art project or Zentangles. You guys look like pros out there. So I have a lot of confidence that your project's going to look really awesome when it's done. I will see you guys on Monday, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.